Well, hello again, everyone, and welcome to this next webcast that we're bringing you from Travel Weekly as part of our Roadmap to Recovery series. And I'm joined today by Gary Lewis, who is, of course, the Chief Executive of the Travel Network Group. And Gary, you're joining us today because you're making a bit of an announcement.
Yes, thank you, Lucy, and good to see you. Yes, we are announcing that the Global Travel Group acquisition completed late on Friday night, 11:45, I think it was, and then we're announcing publicly today. So as of now, the existing global team will have heard, the TTNG members will have heard, and now the embargo, I think, to whatever time this goes out with you, will go out today. And that's the announcement, really. So it's been fantastic. It's been a huge amount of hard work. It adds 285 global members to the scale of the Travel Network Group. They'll carry on trading under the Global Travel Group brand. So the Travel Network Group will now represent, obviously, the Global Travel Group members, our World Choice members, our Travel Trust Association members, and of course our independent travel expert homeworking proposition. It adds scale. It means that we've actually will have grown through this crisis, which is one of the rationales behind the decision to go and work with Donata to acquire Global. And it just adds scale, it adds support to our overall proposition, it makes us remain relevant, and gives us just another feather, really, to go and do other things with.
Okay, all right. Let's take it back a little bit, though, because you announced that you were intending to acquire the Global Travel Group in June. And we're now, almost at the end of the year, and that seems like quite a long time. I know you have to do due diligence, but that's longer than you thought when we first interviewed you. Why did it take so long, Gary?
Well, I think the first thing is we did it unusually. So with fantastic partnership relationship with Donata and the existing global team, we were allowed to make the announcement so that we could just control the conversation with the existing global members. So right. There's a huge trust. So by announcing so early did put us into that, okay, well, why is it taking so long? But then also remember the complexity of what we've tried to do. It's the first time ever that an accredited body has moved with the licensing requirements. There's 195 managed service members within the Global Travel Group. There's another 100 what they call independent option members who sit outside of the licensing requirements that are run by the Global Badge. There's a huge amount of technology that has to be transitioned over and understood. There's a huge amount of financial protection models, so the trust structure for the central group, then also the legalities around the Civil Aviation Authority. There's also a huge corporate entity in Donata and Dubai, and I think it's the first time ever that they probably extracted something from the group that wasn't.
Yeah, they're used to just acquiring, and they're good at bringing things in, but
and they're also good. Obviously an incredibly professional organisation, but also they have a corporate structure that absolutely has a structure that has to be gone through, especially when they're making such a decision that is not core to their core business, but it is significant. There is a lot of relationships need protected, and there's a lot of legalities sign off. So moving money around, moving bank accounts, getting approval for the strategy, it just took longer. And then actually agreeing something commercially is completely different to getting it written down legally, and that is also taken a huge amount of time and challenging. And then whilst at the same time trying to overlay that with the conversations with the global members to make sure they're feeling that they understand why that they're being talked to, because obviously it's still a moving beast. They're still trading, there's still all the refunds, the business partner, the challenges, the consumers, all that stuff.
Okay, so the deal completes today, but if you're a global member and you talked there about how there's tech, of course there's all the back office, etc., and the tech. So when will the global members that are joining you see a difference, or will it just be very seamless, or what practically is the next step?
Yeah, so the global members have already seen a difference because we've already resourced up the finance team, and the finance team are already operating the financial mechanism of the trust account model. So that transition has already happened. So actually, we've been doing that for about the last 6 to 8 weeks. So a big chunk of what would normally happen at completion has already been happening.
So you're saying that all the global members now, once they transition to your group, means that they will then move on to the trust account model?
No, they're already in a trust account model, the Global Travel Group trust account model. So the 185 members remain in that, but we're now operating it. So
Oh,
they're
you're
already
operating their one. Okay, sorry.
so that's now part of the Travel Network Group, and obviously it's now our resource finance function and engagement dealing with all those issues, refunds, payments, reconciliations. Okay. So all that is already happening. But also through this, because of the trust with Donata and the relationships with John Bevan and the team over there, that we've already had agreement and permission to have those conversations. So we've carried on having conversations with the global members throughout this. So they're already getting huge engagement from senior management and other people in that process. But fundamentally from today, what happens is they get access to all the propositions that we offer the Travel Network Group members. So the marketing propositions, the support. Global members over the last week were involved in our Restart, Reconnect campaign for the whole of the Travel Network Group. So around, engaging them with recognising and letting go of this crisis.
So they'll have all of that for peaks. They'll be able to access that.
Yeah, engagement with the trading relationship with our business partners, and then obviously the commercials. We're now overseeing those commercials, and those commercials will carry on, but then they'll be part of our renegotiation across the whole of the Travel Network Group on a commercial perspective.
Okay, just before we move on to sort of all the benefits, etc., for you and for the members, did all global members come across, or did you lose any? Were there any that weren't keen to move across and so have left the consortium?
They are, 99.9% all moving across. There were some members that were at a point of renegotiating their arrangements at the beginning and at the end, and we weren't in a position to be able to support that process. So you've probably had one or two that have gone because of that. You've also had a couple that have closed because of the crisis, so just the pandemic. But all in all, they have been incredibly engaged, very supportive of the process. And that is because Donata have enabled us to have those conversations. So we have been able to address any worries and concerns, get to them. And I think we've got already a very engaged membership. And we can already see that in their support for the Restart Reconnect Zoom conferences that we've held over the last 2 weeks. They were actively engaged in that relationship.
Okay. Now you said that it now was, you just mentioned the crisis yourself, but you said now is a critical time for travel businesses to stand together. Why is it so important? Firstly for the members, but also referencing what you just said there about giving you more scale in your own organisation. Why are those two? Why is it important in those two fronts?
Well, crisis create, changes. There's a huge change going on. Crisis creates opportunity. We saw that in 2008. And the reality is that business partners and our members as distribution of those business partners have a relationship, and that relationship is changing. There's different pressures on others for what is priority for them as their businesses. And clearly already you've seen specific business partners raise the issues about financial protection, raise issues around pipeline, around how money is collected, what the responsibilities sit. You've had different players come into the market and changing. You've got business partners with less resource going forward because they're protecting their costs to try and get through the crisis. We've still got a crisis that is developing and changing even just this week with the new strain of virus and the countries all going into lockdown and stopping the UK going outbound. It raises even more fear for us all about what the future holds in the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months. So, standing together with clarity of communication, with the belief that we can influence the relationship with the business partners and support those business partners, holding business partners to account that haven't performed great through this crisis for their own reasons, for no other fault than the crisis, not theirs, but has brought real, strain on certain relationships, but also reinforcing those fantastic business partners that have stepped up and carried on supporting our members. And, the global members, the World Choice TTA members, every single one of them have not shut their phones off, not closed the doors. They've, you've seen it from your end in your engagement with those travel agents or organizer frontline staff. We've all been through this pain together, and it's about how do we come through that together, but also get the best relationship for our membership going forward.
Yeah, well, you've just mentioned the thing that we've just experienced this weekend. In fact, you talked the crisis is absolutely ongoing. Presumably, your members have been working around the clock this weekend, a bit like they were back in March and April, because they will have, I know not perhaps on the same scale because they wouldn't have had quite so much business, but they will have people that were due to travel, people who are in tier 4 now not allowed to travel. countries, as you say, closing borders where people might have been due to travel and people stuck abroad. So how have you been helping? What's been the sort of impact on your membership this weekend?
Yeah, so obviously we're just seeing all the noise of that over the weekend from what happened. So raising email questions coming through for just clarity of what's going on, and we will and have been all this time communicating so that we at a central point will gather all of the threads of different changing ministers talking differently, governments changing their mind, and what's going on from other countries, and try and put that into a comms to go out to our members so they're getting it continually and succinctly from us, that we're gathering that together. So that will go on. I don't think it's been as bad as through this process, because obviously there's not as much travelling. We're already aware of that disruption, and members are very self-sufficient in understanding what they need to do for their specific customers. I think the biggest impact will be on our members' mental strength and energy and resilience. The whole part about restart, reconnect was, we believe we could see the end in sight with the vaccines coming in, and I think none of us expected the other countries just simply close us down. That uncertainty of how long that goes on for, uncertainty of our government's reaction, layered on top to the Brexit about to impact. It's just, again, just more uncertainty in a year of total and utter fear and uncertainty.
Yeah, and had you, I mean, you say you people have been feeling a bit more confident. I mean, had you seen a sort of a different sort of tone? Do you think people had been feeling a bit more positive about 2021, about peaks? You were gearing up with your campaign. So, and will this derail that, or do you still think that there is, a good opportunity for a good peak season potentially?
I think all those things could be true, and none of us know, and that's the reality of it. I think the truth is, though, that from 2 weeks of feeling that we really had got some excitement and some energy, some momentum about the business partners getting more online in their engagements and their relationships, it felt like we were a proper travel company again, talking about selling holidays. The fact is if you're in tier 4, you're effectively in lockdown. Customers are now just worrying about their next week, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks. And we don't have any end game. If that carries on through December and into January, that of course is going to have an impact upon the inquiries and the momentum of the conversations with customers. There is an absolute, and I think this is where the government really needs to reassure us, they need to be giving us daily updates on this vaccine. How are we getting in there? Because we're making our plans around that. If we know that 33% of all deaths were happening in care homes and 33% of all deaths were then happening in the over 80s, how long till they get vaccinated? How long till the next round of vaccinations to get that confidence for booking in June, July, August, September? And, it seems trivial when you talk about deaths to then talk about travel. But of course, all of our livelihoods are made up in what does our future hold, and we need some certainty. So it will, of course, have an impact if tier 4s go around the country, and uncertainty when the health minister says the virus is out of control with the new strain, we need to get it under control. That, of course, is a scary place for us all to be.
Yeah, very, very much so. So we need more briefings, absolutely. You mentioned Brexit there. I mean, it was we just didn't even talk about it for months. Then it obviously has come to the fore because we're so close now to the end of the year and the deadline. Are members thinking about that? I mean, is that just another thing, or is it a real concern for your members?
Listen, we ask our members to prioritise what's critical, urgent and important, and Brexit's important, but when you've got critical and urgent things you're doing on a daily basis, important you might not be getting to. We have consistently carried on the conversation with our members about Brexit. We've updated them on all the things that they need to think about. Brexit, the truth, I believe it is an opportunity. If complexity is added into the sales process, then for members who are frontline, for agents, businesses that are able to explain that, it gives some more value on why a consumer would come to you. But obviously Brexit overall is going to dampen and slow down the dampen demand. So overall it's not a good thing, but in some ways you could add and pursue the opportunity. But there are clearly some challenges specifically for our niche tour operator members around TOMs, about contracting overseas. So updating members on that is important. But again, it's critical, urgent and important. It's important, but the fact is if nobody's traveling for the next 6, 8, 10 weeks and you're trying to keep yourself alive through cash, then it's important but not critical.
Yeah, and you make that point about keeping yourself alive, and that's what you said. We've talked before, Gary, and you kept saying this is all about cash flow. They've just got to have enough cash in the business to get them through to the end of the year. And now it's, we're stretching that, aren't we? Because as you say, it could go on likely into January now. Do you fear for some of your members who probably calculated that they could just get through to the end of this year if anything picked up in 2021? Does it worry you?
Yeah, so a number of things. Firstly, I said till the end of the year, but that was March, April, May. We've been telling our members to change that perspective because the level of uncertainty was there. Of course we fear, and I know because I talk to members every single day. We've got a huge Zoom process going on where members get access to it, and where they're under that stress and strain of cash. I'm having those conversations with the finance function and with our research people to help them through that and work out what that is. That will bring some challenges. We can help our members through those challenges with bringing them opportunities for other members or other support to try and get themselves through that. They're all absolutely clear on the grants, the loans, the furloughs, and all that stuff. So those opportunities have been understood fully and explored and taken up. So nobody's missing out on that. But of course, there'll be people that will not be able to get through January, February, March, and April, and the longer the toll.
And do you think this latest development with, tier 4 and then the closure from other countries of their borders, do you think that strengthens the travel industry's argument for special support? I know I've seen some people, on social media saying, come on now, you must now see that the travel industry is still having to work because we're still having to help customers through this, but we're making no money. And now we look like we're not going to make any more money for a few more weeks, months, whatever. So do you think we'll be heard?
Well, we have been heard. They're just not responding to what we're saying. So this has to add another layer of pressure onto a government when we are, as an industry, the number one affected industry in the list of all industries that have been hugely and enormously affected. We are the number one. We can keep shouting that. We should keep shouting that. And we are being heard on that. Will they do anything about it? Well, that's down to the impact and effective and efficiency of where they see. I really struggle to get why the government haven't done it. We are trying to shame them to demonstrate what other countries have done. So say Future Travel Campaign with ABTA and what they've done and how they've argued and made those arguments to all of the revenue departments. We've fundamentally been heard and we've been understood. They just don't prioritise us in the importance of the other things that they are trying to challenge, trying to get to. But we should still keep going and keep shouting and keep demanding it. And this, of course, will help in that noise to shout and demand. And we've just got to keep going. Whether I think it will work or not, it doesn't really matter. We just got to keep shouting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you've been at the forefront of that. Conscious of your time, Gary, it's a busy day for you. And I know it's really hard to see past the immediate challenges that you have in your business. But if you can look, maybe a few years ahead, you've made this acquisition, you are growing, big consortium now with all your different brands within it. Where do you see the business go? Travel Network Group going? Where would you like to see the business going? In, like, I don't know. I know it's hard because I'm asking you to go beyond what we're currently in, but what do you think?
Well, let's firstly go. This acquisition is an opportunity because of the crisis, but also it's part of our scale strategy going forward. The reality is the only thing I see is the next month, 4 months, 6 months. And it is about meeting our members' priorities, critical, urgent, important, and helping them through this. We only exist if we have members. And this crisis at the start, we believe we could lose up to 70% of our members. Then furlough came, then grants came, then government came funding money. That's had a massive impact to keep us to where we are today. So the reality is we have to help our members meet the crisis going forward. And some of that will be about costs, will be about technology making them more effective, more efficient, more competitive into what happens out the other side of that. We've got all of those things are already lined up to bring them. We've got story after story of being able to demonstrate what we've done through this crisis. We've carried on investing in certain things that will have a direct impact on our members' ability to run a more effective, more efficient, and a more competitive model. That helps us as an organisation to help our members stay around and be competitive. And that's all we should be prioritising. What that then brings is other opportunities, but we are only growing one member at a time.
It's the here and now that's important.
And we have a plan for the future, and that will play out it only plays out if we obsess about each individual member and meeting their individual need.
Okay, very well said. And just finally, I know we don't know what the investment was for taking on Global, and I don't think you're going to tell us, but
no, but I can tell you this. The investment is not anything up front. There's no cash paid. It's paid over a long period of time. It doesn't risk the Travel Network Group. In the event of the world not traveling for the next 4 years, the Travel Network Group won't break off the back of this acquisition and relationship. And it's done on a trusted relationship with Gold Medal and Donata, and the fact that we're important distribution to them. We've got a fantastic relationship and commercial with them. We're very important to them as a group, and it's a partnership. We own the global travel group completely, but actually our partnership with all business partners is important, and therefore we're not risking anything by acquiring.
I think that's my question was going to be, obviously if you'd made a big outlay or a big investment, and there will be other investments, I guess, in technology, but then I guess that will be offset by some cost savings and efficiencies. But just to be making that kind of move in the middle of a pandemic and a crisis, I get what you're saying, that sometimes that's the best time to do something like that. But I just hoping you hadn't kind of overstretched yourself, given that the crisis is ongoing.
Yeah, and I made that point to all members. We've not risked anything. There's no upfront cash. It's over a period of time. We don't need to pay it if we can't afford to pay it because the world stops trading. We've got the ability. We know what our 12-month, 24-month cash projection looks like with no travel, with travel. We're not risking the Travel Network Group.
Okay, and you said it's a relationship about because you're a big distribution partner for Gold Medal. That's not to the exclusion of working with other partners, or have you had to strike a sort of a new deal with Gold Medal to, achieve a certain percentage of their distribution?
No, absolutely not. We are a membership organisation, and our relationship with all of our business partners is hugely important. And it's about having that independence, that spread, that mix, that variety for our members to work with the business partners that want to support them. That is about business partners coming together to support them, to demonstrate that, because then the members get the benefit of that. It is important about it's really a priority to be important to a number of business partners, not important to a huge range. And it's about those business partners that support the members will get that benefit of the distribution.
All right. Well, Gary, we wish you all the best with it. I mean, it's great that you've made that move, and we look forward to seeing how the Global Travel Group grows under your leadership and under your umbrella of the Travel Network Group. And we just wish you all the best for the new year as well. So it is tough, but good luck to you and all your members.
Thank you, Lucy, and also to you and all the team. I know how brilliant you have been through this crisis in terms of the Zooms, the continual support, and giving us a wide variety of what's going on. So from us to you as well, huge thank you, and have a fantastic Christmas.
Likewise. All right, Gary, thanks very much.
Thanks, Lucy.